You made it. Welcome back. Yeah, BEA, beautiful souls. I have gotten so many requests from all of you wonderful box boys out there about what keybinds I've been using, and I do try to respond to some of those comments, but obviously I think it's just better just to make a video and explain some of the reasons why I choose my keybinds and why it works for me personally. At the end of the day, I think it's very important to stress to you gamers out there that you need to find what works best for you. You do not have the same left and right hand as I do. I may have some, intricate qualities about my fingering skills. I am a pianist, and you may have other skills relating to your own experiences. However, the most important thing at the end of the day is to pick what you like. And I also have to stress one more thing is that when you do change your keybinds or you move from controller to keyboard and mouse, you are going to lose all your games for 2 weeks straight. And that may not be different for some of you. But for me, it's a big change. I used to be a controller player. I played on PS4, went to PC afterwards on season 6 or 5, I believe. And I played on controller for a little bit, and then I moved to keyboard and mouse because I was tired of not being able to block and parry consistently. I could deflect quite easily. Deflecting on controller is, personally, I prefer it on controller because it's a lot more ease of access. But when it comes to utilizing your full block and utilizing switching targets, I think PC is superior in that regard because of my personal fingering techniques. My dominant hand is my right hand, and so I think it's very important for you to have a mouse that will work well with you. I like having a very lightweight mouse so I can move around really quickly. I'll show you guys my DPI and my keybinds as well. So let's just get into it. That's just what I want to say. Disclaimer in the beginning. It is personal preference, and you have to make sure that you are going to be comfortable losing for a lot of your games. I suggest playing against bots, getting used to your muscle memory. Muscle memory is very important. Every single fighting game, you have to learn your combos. You have to learn what button to press when the opponent is engaging with you. So your brain has to tell, hey, press this button, press mouse button 4 when this happens. And that's incredibly important. And just playing against bots works perfectly fine. That's what I do as well. So working with bots before you go into player duels, I think that's very beneficial. Otherwise, you're going to look like a complete scrub when you're a rep 1000 unemployed like myself. So let's get into it. I picked Blackfire because, one, she is goated. She looks BEA, beautiful. God damn, the aura is immaculate. God damn, look at those hips, I'll tell you what. Woo! Anyways, so let's go over my DPI. So DPI 800. You can go higher if you want to, but I personally used 800. And the reason why for that is because it's a nice middle ground. It's slower, so your mouse doesn't move like super crazy. Some people who have really high DPI are just gonna have a mouse that moves all over the place. And let's go ahead and check this out here. So you'll go to Fight, Controls, Tuning, and Mouse. And this is what I have personally. You can adjust this according to how you feel, but I want my top stance to be, smaller than my right stance, my left and right, because my left and right stance, there's two important sides that you need to guard, essentially. So you want to be able to flick your left and your right inputs as quickly as you can and have the biggest space possible. That's me personally, and I think that's really beneficial when you need to go for very fast parries. And a lot of zones come from the left or right side, so it's very important because those are the safest heavy moves usually on most characters to engage your opponent and go into your offense. And so that's why I have the left and right really wide. My guard stance 90, down dead zone angle is 100, and this here is so that you're not going to press left and right as much. So if I increase this here to like 50 or so, do you see how much space I have for it to go down? You don't really want that. You want it to be small, and you want it to be not as sensitive, essentially. So when I'm moving my character like this, I'm barely moving left. You see that? But when I move it left right here, it's really quick. So if you have it very sensitive, it's going to move really, really fast. And you don't really want that. You want to be able to control everything. If you see a lot of my gameplay, I'm not doing this constantly to like mess my opponent's guards and be like, oh, look at me, I'm freaking changing my guard. You don't know where I'm going to go, because any PC player is going to look at an indicator and be like, okay, it's coming out from that side. I think this really only works with console players and whatnot, but People who change their guard like that, it's not that big of a deal. It'll probably work against like low old gen console players, but most PC players are going to be able to see your indicator. You're not going to be able to hide that unless you have a neutral form as attack, which pretty much nobody does. But essentially, you're not going to be able to move that much. So let's go back to the advanced controls and go back to the mouse. So guard sensitivity, you can mess around. I've messed around with this here. This will basically change your sensitivity on your mouse moving. So I've experimented with 2 and 0. You can go with what works best for you. And I have found 0 to be the best when it comes to flicking your mouse and going for really fast parries. So if you want to parry really quick attacks, indicator parry, I would suggest doing 0. But like I said, this is going to be personal preference. You need to find a good middle ground for yourself. All right, moving on to the rotate widget. You want to keep this at 0. I don't know anybody that messes with this, so don't worry about it. Moving on to key mapping. Okay, so this is going to be the important part. I've changed quite some important keybinds here. All right, so everything up here is going to be normal except I changed sprint to left control. Now it's quite weird. I think default is what is it, like, I don't know what default is. I think it's shift, but basically you want to, this depends on your left hand specifically. I want the finger that is already on the key to be used the most. And what I use the most in Dominion is switching targets. Switching targets needs to be very important and #1 priority, because this is going to make it so that you can easily target swap moves with ease and external moves that you don't want to deal with. So option selecting. And that is why I moved the sprint one to left control. You use sprint really only in the beginning of the spawn period, so it's not that important. Sprint is really only helpful in running away situations or when you're spawning, so not that important. Put it on a keybind that you don't really need. Same thing for walk. Walk is not that important, so I put it on X. This could be any keybind whatsoever. However, the most important change that I have done is dodge, and your dodge, or my dodge, is going to be left click. And what left click does, essentially, since my right hand is my dominant finger or dominant hand, I want my index finger to be the most reactive one. And so when I see orange, I'm going to dodge with my dominant hand. So whatever your dominant hand is, you want to put it on a button that is most comfortable. On default, it is spacebar. But the thing is, when you do have it on spacebar, now you have to do 2 inputs, because you also have to use your left hand for ASDW, moving left, right, forward, or back, and also press spacebar at the same time. So if you're comfortable with pressing both of those at the same time, then go for it. However, I personally am not, so that's why I have my keybind on dodge here. So when I just click, I just move to the left, whichever direction I'm going, whether it be back or forward, and I just press my left click. So if I see an orange, I dodge. Quite simple. Obviously for, characters like Warden who have charged bashes, it's going to be more read-based, but if I see orange from a Warlord, I dodge. I click fast. If your reaction time is 200 ms, you should be able to dodge this on reaction. Should be fairly easy. That's like, average reaction time is like 250. Mine at best is 190, but on average I would say it's like 200, because I'm mostly just chilling. We're employed gamers out here. So when I see orange, when I see anything, I dodge with my left click. One of the most important things, in my opinion. So find what's comfortable for you. If that's not comfortable, change it to anything else at all. But if it's right hand is your dominant hand, go ahead and choose that. It's a really weird input to get used to, but if you're dominant on your right hand, you should be fine for the most part. Just takes a week or 2 to get used to. Now, moving on here to the next part. Now, guard mode or cycle target. Cycle target, that is my shift button. Like I told you before, very important to change this, because in 4v4, you're going to be using this constantly. Pressing shift is super important. You want to be shifting and changing targets as much as possible in 4v4 to get free damage and pressure your opponent that you're not targeting. So I like using shift because my pinky finger is right on it by default, and I don't want to have to move my finger around when something so important in team fights is crucial to landing damage or opening people up. So that's why I have shift. Light attack, I changed this to mouse button 4 and 5, or change it to 5. So make sure you have mouse button 4 and 5 on your mouse. If you don't have one of those mouses, go get one. They're fairly inexpensive, and it's quite necessary for a game that requires you to have multiple inputs, especially if you're on keyboard and mouse. So I changed light attack to mouse button 5. You can do 4 or 5, whatever is more comfortable for you. But I've found 5 to be a little bit more comfortable. Heavy attack still going to remain the same. It's still right mouse button. And then this is an interesting one. Full block stance, it's going to be caps lock. Okay, so caps lock, this might be a tricky one for some of you guys. I think default it is, what is it? I think it's like C or something like that, or F. But essentially, I did caps lock because it's easy of access for my pinky. So if I'm going into full block stance with a black prior, you know, it's easily right here. So ASDW, easily right there. So I can go into it, I can do this, I can feint, I can easily go into that really, really quickly. And personally, it's what I prefer. And then I can also really quickly go into my full block mix if I see anything that can potentially hit me with black prior or any of the full blocks in general. So that is my personal preference. If you guys have something that would be a little bit easier, I think it would be fine to not use caps lock, maybe go into F per chance or C. But whatever is easiest for you. On default, Q and E are your executions, and you can change that to what you guys want. But I like having it on shift. I might change it to something a little bit more comfortable in the future, because high-level gamers, it can be hard to target swap your hidden stance, because high-level gamers with black prior or Nobushi, they like to do hidden stance or full blocks and target swap those, and the animation kind of looks jank and can mess up your timing. So that's something that you can practice later on, but I personally don't really need to use it. I feel I can target swap just fine without having those two really close together, you know, because I can put my pinky on shift or my caps lock with my ring finger. So that's something that you can try to gravitate towards. Totally up to you. Guard break is going to be space bar. So this is quite easy because it's a really big button, and you can choose whatever you want, but I like having spacebar because you'll hear me in my games. I'll be spamming this very quickly, just so that I can counter guard break or guard break someone really quickly. So this doesn't really matter, but spacebar is just an easy one to use. So that's easy guard break. E is still your feint button, so that's quite self-explanatory. That's default. Execution is going to be F and G for 1 and 2. Oh my gosh. And then we have execution 3 or 4. I was going to say we could add all the other executions on my other keybinds too, but we only have, unfortunately, 4 executions total. We should have a emote scrolling wheel and potentially more executions added to our FG and hold, and maybe if you press FG both at the same time, you could do a 5th execution. I don't know, that'd be kind of sick. But feet 1 and 2, they're all the same. And here is what you guys also are looking for. So this is gonna be also something that you will have to get used to. What I personally use Revenge for is going to be mouse button 4. Wait, I use mouse button 4? I swear to God, I thought I used middle mouse button. What the flip is this? I thought I used what the heck? Like apparently I use mouse button 4. Okay, I swear I thought I used middle mouse button, but I think it's because my middle mouse button broke on my last mouse, so I switched it to mouse button 4, and I think that's why. So you can either do middle mouse button, which I really liked having because right hand dominant, and you're gonna need to press revenge really quickly in tight scenarios where you are about to get revenge before they land their finisher heavy, because some gamers, if you're fighting like comp stacks or gamers who are confirming, you can press revenge and be safe after a guard break attempt. So you have to spam it though. You have to be incredibly quick. Bots can easily do this because they do it within the millisecond of getting activation or revenge. But as humans, we do have a slower reaction time, and that is something that we have to spam and press. There are plenty of times where I'm sure you could have gotten revenge or pressed revenge when you were about to get it when someone guard breaks or light confirms and you get hit by the unblockable heavy. And this is why. It's because you need to pick the way, the fastest keybind to press and spam to get revenge. And at that moment, you're going to get a free heavy attack on the opponent that does hit you with the unblockable heavy. So keep that in mind. I think that's something that you guys need to choose really carefully. So either for me, it's going to be mouse button 4 or middle mouse button, and that's going to be totally up to you. And that is pretty much it for my that's pretty much it for my keybinds that are at least the most beneficial for me personally. I don't use controller anymore, but for controller, if you have pads on the back of your controller, which a lot of controllers do, if you set the basic, Xbox or PlayStation 5 controller, they don't have pads, so you have to invest in a more expensive one. I use the Easy SMX controller for a lot of my casual games, but that is like a $40 to $50 controller, and it's not as expensive as a base PS5 controller, thank God. And that controller is fantastic because it essentially uses like keyboard buttons or sound, so it has that click sound, this sound right here, and it sounds really satisfying. So if you guys want a really good controller, I would recommend, I'm not sponsored by them or anything, I would recommend the Easy SMX. And there's a cheaper option, and then there is a more expensive option. I would go for the more expensive one because I love this controller. This controller is great. It feels amazing. And it has Bluetooth, or you can use a dongle. And it is just, you can also use it for the Switch as well. But the comfortability is just absolutely top tier. It sounds amazing. The paddles on the back are great. You can also bind them to change. You can make like L3 or R3 into those specific pads in the back and all that stuff. So I really like it personally. I think that's pretty much all my keybinds. You guys let me know if there's any other questions that you guys have for my keybinds, like what you guys think. But at the end of the day, like I said, I think it's very important to find something that you guys want to be comfortable with. Don't just choose my keybinds because I use it. This is what I'm comfortable with. There are plenty of great players that use controller. Plenty of good players that use controller. But I find it best for me to use keyboard and mouse because I can just parry better. I feel better when I use this. And it's not just anecdotal. I also just play better in general because I'm more consistent with my parries. If I'm using, my thumb is not my strongest finger. My thumb moving around the analog stick trying to parry red and everything like that. I'm a freaking boomer. I don't have the reaction time as I used to 6 years ago when I played For Honor. And so you slowly go downhill, and you develop Alzheimer's and all that stuff. So that is why moving to mouse and keyboard kind of gives me that edge, and I feel like it really helps me out as a player to be a lot more consistent with parries. Because a lot of people, when you're fighting high-level gamers, they will try to light check you right here when you're not frame advantage, frame neutral to trade, frame disadvantage. So when they throw out the light attack, you want to get ready to parry basically. So light into unblockable is kind of a basic thing for Black Prior. You can let it fly for a trade. Some characters are frame disadvantage when you do a dodge attack into an unblockable. So you're frame disadvantage, and they'll just light check you like that. So when the enemy blocks your attack and you go for unblockable, they can light you. So it's a great way to stay in shape, and it's a great way to parry right afterwards. So if they throw a zone right there to option select you, you're ready for it. You see that? So that's what I find most comfortable for me personally. And whatever floats your guys' boats at the end of the day, you gotta make sure that you find something that you like, not just because I use it. So make sure your mouse is the correct DPI. A low DPI is better in my opinion, 800 DPI. And I'm trying to think of any other things for my mouse in general. I use a Razer Cobra. And it's very light. It is wired. You can go wireless if you want, but I found that if you go wireless, the mouse is a lot heavier. And if you're okay using a heavier mouse, then that's fine. Just remember that if you use a heavier mouse and you're gaming for like 2 hours or more, you might get tired and your wrist might get tired. So you have to take a rest, short break in between, and make sure that you don't hurt yourself, because arthritis is a serious issue for a lot of gamers out there. If you're on your PC a lot, just writing and typing and gaming away, you got to be careful. You got to do stretches. You got to take a break. It's very important to do that. Otherwise, you're going to develop some serious issues when you get older. Okay? Yeah, take care of yourself, honestly. I'm worried about you. I'm worried about all you For Honor players out there. all of us. We all have issues because we play For Honor. But I think that is going to be it. Oh, one thing too that is helpful for me is to the exit guard mode rule. Essentially, I put it on never because you don't ever really want to exit guard unless you know someone is, going to hit you essentially. So you want to like be able to consistently be on there, because once the target's dead or been executed, then you exit the guard mode. So personally, I think it's important to do never, but this is going to be personal preference, so it's going to be up to you. And the hold to sprint, dear God, I don't know what kind of monsters out there exist that press hold to do anything. It's absolutely disgusting. And I don't like using the cycle target system because what this does is that it rotates the enemies that you target, and it definitely messes up how I play, because right now, if you have this off, it kind of rotates between two of the enemies that are closest to you. And that's usually what it does. So it target swaps in between enemies. And usually, when you target swap dodge attack, it's kind of like perfect on how it works. But sometimes it is better to be able to lock on for someone that is farther away, the third enemy, And that can be tricky. So if you guys have messed around with the cycle targeting system and you like it, that's good. But I'm kind of used to the old system and I'm fine with this. I haven't had, obviously we've had complaints about this a long time ago. We still do. But they already enabled this system, which rotates between all the enemies that are around you. And that can be hard, and you have to get used to it. So if that one's better for you guys, keep using it. But I feel like I'm doing just fine with this one. Sometimes there's an enemy in the back that you really want to get to and roll catch, but you're just not able to. So personally, I think you guys should try this and see how well it works, because there are times where I need to target someone that's farther away, that's trying to get away, and I can't do it while I'm in revenge, and I'm focusing on his teammates that are, full HP. It's better to kill the guy who's really low HP in a lot of situations, but also focusing on their teammates that are, half or full HP is really beneficial for your teammates that will eventually and probably not even come help you and stall the enemies on point. So that is pretty much going to be my basically my keybinds and my reasonings on why I use the keybinds that I do, and I hope this has helped each and every single one of you. If you guys have any more questions, feel free to leave them in the comments and I might make another video. I am yapping here for days, so I do apologize about that, but we'll have some chill music in the background, okay, to make things right. We'll be trying to make a tier list very soon, because I know that I wanted to explore the meta a little bit here, see who's the strongest character, see who's the most egregious, especially for you matchmaking gamers. And like I said, these tier lists are for you guys. They're for the casuals out there, people who have day jobs, or people who just don't really want to focus too much on the sweaty aspects of the game. Like, obviously, there's going to be sweaty gamers out there, and 4 stacks and whatnot, but this list is gonna, compute with all of those in mind. So thank you so much for watching. Let me know if this video was helpful. Leave a like if it was, and a comment on what keybinds you guys like to use and what you should be choosing as well. But that's gonna be it for me. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. You take care of your wonderful selves. All right, bye bye.